Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to SunnyCon Anime Expo. And this is our new video series, kind of a vlog about what we get up to kind of in the back processes of SunnyCon Anime Expo. And I'm calling this series Behind the Weebs. Catchy title, I know. So basically with this series is we need to get more YouTube likes, subscribes, we need more likes on Facebook, and you know, rather than us sitting at home doing work, we thought we'd give you a look into what goes on at SunnyCon Anime Expo, what it takes to run an anime convention, and you know, the different things that affect us and everything else around us. And for the first video, I'm going to be doing SunnyCon and Brexit. Now, before you stop and turn it off, believe it, we're sick of it too, but as a business, we just want to tell you, you know, how Brexit affects us as a cultural event in Newcastle, and going forward, you know, what contingencies, if any, that we have for dealing with the eventual end of March, really. So first thing I'm going to touch on here is the first thing to be impacted at SunnyCon will actually be traders and artists. And they've already probably been hit by the exchange rate, and you might have noticed that some of your stores and crafters will have raised prices to try and keep up with this. But coming into Brexit, especially a no-deal Brexit, would be the fact that the customs arrangement in the UK changes. And my understanding of this is from they've got a 100-odd page document on the government website if you want to go and check it out. And they cover customs coming from the EU. So if they import from France, if they import from Germany or the Netherlands, then you may see like prices increase even further at these traders. And if they don't have like the kind of custom, because high prices does put people off. And so we're worried that a few of the traders and a few of the artists who have to import, that they're going to be hit really hard by this, because there's a rule stating that from the EU, goods in, I think it's £35 and under, they won't be checked. They'll be okay just to pass through, like, you know, a smooth customs thing. And I think it's like up to £135. If it's over £135, then it has to be checked or something like that. I'm not 100% on that. It's been ages since I owned like an anime shop myself. But from what I understand is these goods that used to pass the under £35 limit, that used to be able to go through customs smoothly, will now actually be stopped and checked and have VAT added on. Now, who picks up the bill there? If it's the company that's shipping them in, if it's the company that's buying them in, I'm not 100% on that, but I know from experience that customs, when they add VAT, they send it to a parcel force, like warehouse somewhere where you can't get it. It delays it for up to like 3 weeks for a package, and you have to pay for the privilege of them delaying your parcel. And hung on to that there may be more VAT charges on top of that. So for traders and artists, we hope that everybody who has booked will stay and will be in attendance. But it's kind of a worry at the moment that Brexit will hit them, and we'll keep an ongoing an eye on, you know, who, if anybody, will be dropping out later on. So that's one main worry for Brexit and SunnyCon. So other problems and issues we're having with Brexit, it happened actually back in 2016 when the referendum happened and my hometown Sunderland decided to leave. The pound just went bang out, and so I know, and everything just shot up in price, and it's because, as I've touched on, a weak pound, and a weak pound for us is, as we've said for traders and artists, it's kind of crippling for them. But we deal a lot in that, especially guest fees, which is the big one, and the guest fees come in US dollars because the majority of our guests are voice actors from America. And so we have to bring them over on flights, which have gone up in price. Hotels have gone up in price. Our venue hire has gone up in price. And when we're getting less value for money for our pound. Now, I've got figures here from 2012. The pound was equal to $1.58. And that might not seem like much, but the pound rate at the moment is $1.24. And it might be just a difference of 0.24, and it might well, that's just a small number. But you've got to consider our biggest outgoing, one of our biggest outgoings next to the venue hire itself, is guest fees. And guest fees, we're not legally allowed to disclose any. They can be anything from a couple of $100 all the way up to 10,000, 20,000 even. And we have here, you know, we've picked out like $5,000 as just like an example. And back in 2012, you got 2 guests, $5,000. That would have cost us, well, $5,000 each, so $10,000 I should say. That would have cost us £6,329.10. This is back in 2012. Fast forward to now, same 2 guests, same $5,000 fee each, and we're looking at £8,064.50. And that's £1,735.40 difference. All for that 0.24 on the exchange rate, our costs have increased by nearly £2,000. And that's a lot of money. We don't have corporate sponsorships. We don't have, you know, people throwing money at us. Our biggest income source is ticket sales. I mean, it's like our only income source, ticket sales and trader tables and artist table fees. That's how we make our money. And I mean, if we had sponsors, then it might be a little bit more comfortable. But, you know, you guys are our sponsors. And well, that's why we keep saying, you know, buy your tickets early, because that helps us budget, and we can look and say, oh, well, we have this money here. Now we can predict that X amount of people are going to turn up, and we can work from there. But with Brexit, the pound keeps getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And we're looking at it and thinking, crap, you know, what if it turns out that the pound is equal to $1? And so we've had to make concessions for Brexit, because we have to look at it and say, right, we've got X amount of guests booked for both Newcastle and Liverpool now, and we have like a budget in our head that's a guess on attendance. Now, we're confident in attendance numbers, we're confident that we'll still get the people attending, but we're not confident in the fact the British government can help deliver a strong pound. So we've had to put a little extra money aside, and we're actually preparing for the fact that the pound will actually be so much weaker come March. And it's really, you know, harrowing to think that, you know, the pound could be worth like less than the dollar. And when that happens, like I say, 0.24 drops like increased our costs by £2,000 compared to 2012. If we go forward, you've got to think like, you know, the costs going forward into 2019, if it drops a little 0.24, there's like another 2, 3. So we've got like 5, 6, 7 grand possibly increased, added onto the budget, all because, you know, this government can't deliver Brexit. And that's a worrying thing, because we have this budget and we have guesswork on basically, it's pretty solid guesswork, I should say. It's not like we're gambling everything and just throwing caution to the wind. We know how many people we can bring in. We know the revenue that we can get from them. We kind of know like the timings of people buying and what tickets they're buying based on all the data we've collected from since 2012. But going forward, we've had to reduce our cosplay prizes this year, and that should give us that little extra leeway in the budget to help progress forward and take any kind of hit that may come from the pound being weak. So going forward to SunnyCon Anime Expo, we're confident enough that we can weather the Brexit storm, if there is a storm at all. We know that there's a lot of things on the news where it's just hype, like, you know, grounding flights and whatnot. So, I mean, good for us going grounded flights. You know, do we bring guests over to Ireland and smuggle them over in trawlers? You know, what happens there? I'm sure we'll find out in good time. I mean, it happens end of March, so then we've got April, May, June. You know, we've got 3 months to worry about that kind of stuff. We've got the flexibility. The budget's flexible enough, and we have that little bit of padding put to the side ready in case we do take a hit, which we probably will. But going on to 2020, 2021, all we're looking at is making sure that SunnyCon still grows, that we still provide the best event available in the UK, and that we can expand further, because it's not just Newcastle and Liverpool. We have bigger plans than that. We want to make every event like unique and not one and the same. Like some events you can go to and it's held in different cities, different towns, you know, it's the same thing basically, just a different city. We want to make every event unique, every event have its own personality. And as for Brexit, you know, it's not going to impact us on doing that. It's not going to stop our creativity, and to be honest, we're not going to lose any sleep over it. it's just it's one of those things, you know, it will happen, we will get over it. And I think, like, you know, even though everyone's like, oh, we should remain, we should have a second referendum, everyone's a traitor, you know, the government's not doing the job. Like, the government never does the job usually, unless it's in their own self-interest. And you've just got to remember that, you know, tomorrow's another day. 2019's another year. Happy New Year, by the way. And we're going forward, we're moving on, and after March we'll still be moving on to better and brighter things. So even if Brexit's got you stressed, if Brexit's got you worried, if Brexit's got you nervous, don't be. From our point of view, from a business point of view, we're a little bit trepid, we're a little bit uncertain, but we're positive and moving forward. And I think everyone should take that kind of stance of, you know what, it's going to happen, let's work on fixing the problems as they arise. So I hope this has been educational to some degree. As I say, this will be a video series. The Brexit's just one topic that I can discuss for what goes on behind the scenes. If you've got any suggestions for topics yourselves, please leave a comment below. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe us, and thanks for joining me. I've been Tucky, and I shall see you next time. Goodbye.